Cycling in Germany is super popular, whether it's for commuting or for leisure. Alone in 2020, over 5 million bikes were sold in the country. In this video, we will show you how to buy a bike and what are the most popular bike types that you have to choose from in Germany.
At the end of the video, we will share a very important tip on how to cycle in Germany after you've purchased your new bike.
To make sure that you don't fall down, so make sure that you stick around. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from Simple Germany, where we help you settle into life in Germany more smoothly.
Additionally to this YouTube channel, we also run our website simplegermany.com. There we have written in-depth guides on topics that we don't cover on YouTube, but that also help you navigate your life in Germany more smoothly. So check them out.
First question is, where can you actually buy a bike in Germany?
So I would say there's 3 popular ways to do it, out of which I would only recommend one.
Also speaking from experience.
So obviously in today's world, there's a lot of online shopping, and obviously there's also big bicycle shops online. However, I would argue that the only time you should buy, or it's good for you to buy a bike online, is if you're more or less like familiar with bikes, somewhat of a bike expert, and you know what you're doing. The reason for that is that most often or not, when you buy a bike online, is that it will come in different parts and that you will need to put it together yourself. And only if you're comfortable doing that and trusting your own skills in doing that, then this would be an okay way.
Yes, for example, the second bike that I had in Germany was one that we bought online, and that is exactly what happened. And it was quite a challenge, I would say, to build it all together, despite the fact that the website promoted that it's super easy to assemble and I don't know what. I think to the extent that within 3 months or 4, we actually took it to a proper bike shop for them to just fine tune it and do some fixes that we didn't assemble on our own correctly.
Yeah, I would say we did assemble it correctly, but I think it's like this psychological question of confidence, because you, of course, are not an expert and you haven't done it as many times.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And the second way, actually, which is very popular among new people arriving to Germany, is to go to the flea market and buy a bicycle. Been there, done that. That was actually the very first bike that I got. And yeah, it's true. I paid, I think, 25 euros at the time. Yes, it's true. The bike was way too small for me. Yes, it's also true. It was not a very secure or very maintained bike. It was a very, I would say, crappy bike, to the extent that it broke down within, I would say, 3 to 4 months. And that bike was really painful to cycle with, because it was me feeling more like I was pulling the bike instead of the other way around.
And I would say that it's just a very big safety hazard for yourself and others.
Yeah, especially when you consider, if you look at people cycling in Germany, you're cycling sometimes amongst traffic or other pedestrians or other things. So you need to have a bike that you feel confident in and that you're able to also brake fast. Oh, and also obviously this flea market one didn't have good brakes. And at the end of the day, there is a saying that what you pay cheap, you end up paying expensive. I don't know the English one right now.
No, what you pay cheap, you buy twice.
Yeah, there you go, because in Spanish it's different. It's the same thing. And it did happen that after 4 months and it broke down, I went to a bike shop close to where I lived. I brought it in and the repair was more than 25 euros. So at the end of the day, I didn't fix it. And then what would be your one or most recommended way, Yvonne, of buying a bike?
So especially if it's like your first or second bike, go to a physical bike shop. Any city, any town, I would say, has a bike shop, big or small. And those are the experts. Of course, you should have somewhat of an idea of what you're looking for. However, it's best to have that expert adjust the size, give you recommendations, and also help you feel confident on a bike if that's not your thing from your hometown. Most importantly, before buying a bike, is that you should be able to test ride it. That's, I would say, the number one reason to go to a physical shop. The bigger bicycle shops, they have a test drive lane inside, and that is, of course, the perfect place to use it. For this video, we actually went to a bike shop called Stadler. And Stadler has the biggest bike array in Germany. They actually have like 22 different shops all over the country, so that it could be a go-to place for you.
Yes, and I would say the shop that we went to in Düsseldorf is huge. You can literally find, I would say, absolutely everything related to bikes in that shop.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a good place to go, because if you go to a smaller one, they might just have a very small selection and you might not be able to see the whole market overview, let's call it like that.
Exactly. Don't worry, going to a bike shop is perfectly fine, and most often or not, I would say that the employees there speak English, if not somewhat of English, and you will still be able to communicate just by, working on the bike. The place that we went to here in Düsseldorf, Stadler, they have employees speaking English in the sales department as well as in the workshop, like the service department.
Yes, so before you go and spend your money on a bike, there are a few questions you should probably ask yourself before buying a bike.
Especially if you enjoy looking at bikes, you might get attracted by some bikes that are not in your in your budget or don't fit your purpose. So be aware of what you want.
Yes. So number one is you need to figure out for yourself whether you're going to use the bike mainly more in cities or in nature.
Right, whether it's a bike for commuting or just for pleasure.
Another thing you need to consider is how do you want to sit on the bike? Do you want to sit like all comfortable, kind of like a cruiser, or you want to be more like sporty looking and go more forward?
The next question is whether you just want to use your muscles with an old school bike, or you're also ready for the new trend of the e-bikes where you have a motor supporting your pedaling.
And the most important question is how big is your budget? Because depending on your budget, some bikes might be totally out of the question.
Right. I would argue that you can start getting qualitatively very good bikes at around 500 euros.
Yeah.
Below that, maybe 400, but below that I would not go because there the quality really suffers.
Now let's jump into the most popular bike types in Germany. So what is the absolutely most popular bike type in Germany, Ivan?
Germany has been taken by storm by the e-bike boom. So e-bikes have really taken over the market, and in 2020, 40% of all new sold bikes were e-bikes.
That is crazy.
Especially considering that e-bikes usually also ask for a bigger budget.
So 40% is actually around 2 million bikes in the year, which is crazy because in 2018, the number was 1 million. So the numbers actually doubled.
Within 2 years. So e-bikes are really booming. And what is an e-bike? An e-bike is a regular bicycle that also has a motor built in, like an e-motor, that supports your pedaling.
And within the e-bike industry, there are certain things they need to look out for. And that is how fast can the bike go.
If you have a pedelec or e-bike that can go faster than 25 kilometers with the help of the motor, then it is no longer classified as a bicycle, but it's actually considered a moped, so a motorized vehicle. And for that, you actually need a license. You need an AM license, which is included if you have a car license, which is Class B. And you also need specific insurance for it. You are obliged to wear a helmet. You sometimes are not allowed to drive on the cycle lanes anymore, but need to drive on the road like a car. And your super fast e-bike also needs its own license plate. So you see, if you go beyond the 25 kilometer rule, it becomes a little bit more complicated. Just to summarize it, if you're looking for an e-bike, hassle-free, that is really considered a bicycle, the motor cannot go faster than 25 kilometers per hour, and it needs to have a motor that has less than 250 watts.
Okay, so it seems that e-bikes are like a thing in Germany. Wow, I wish I had an e-bike. I have a muscle-pedaled bike. So what is the second most popular bike type?
The second most popular are trekking bikes. So trekking bikes make up 25% of new sales in 2020. And I must argue that in the e-bike sector, all kinds of different bike types exist, but also in the e-bike sector, the trekking e-bike is the most popular one.
Ah, right. Okay, because you do have like mountain bike e-bikes, trekking bike e-bikes,
race bike e-bikes.
Yeah. But the trekking one is the most popular one.
Right.
The cool thing about the trekking bikes is that they're kind of like the all-rounder bikes. They are very comfortable to cycle with in the city. They usually either bring a basket or like a rack on the back so you can put tons of stuff, maybe like a bag, a backpack, or even when you go grocery shopping, your stuff there. So it becomes very well equipped to be used in the city.
Right, and also the trekking bike is fast on the road, however, can also go off-road a little bit. So it really is the perfect all-rounder, like you said.
Yeah. And then what is the third most popular bike to use in Germany?
Third most popular bike are mountain bikes. And here we need to distinguish that some mountain bikes are being bought for the purpose of just leisure and actually cycling in the mountains. But most often not because they look cool. Might talk about myself here a little bit. They are also being bought to use on the road. So mountain bikes tend to be a bit slower on the road just because they have thicker tires, and also the in German it's called Übersetzung. I don't even know the
traction, maybe?
The traction, yeah, the way it's built is a bit slower. So they are not the best bike if you want to commute. How about that?
But they look cool, as you said.
Exactly. So those are the top three in terms of sales. However, also city bikes, Jen's favorite word, Hollandfahrrad.
Yes.
Where you literally sit like upright and you, for me, I wobble because I cannot cycle upright. They are very popular. Kids' bikes, of course, come in all sizes and shapes.
Yeah. Also, you don't see them as much, but you do see them. Some are the ones the clappable ones, the ones that you fold down, the foldable ones, and the cargo bikes. For families, it's not uncommon to see someone cycling a bicycle with maybe 3 or sometimes 4 kids in the front cargo area. That's also quite popular.
Yes.
But as numbers show, they're not like the most popular types.
I would say they fall under the e-bike category.
Ah. If you're liking this video, then please consider hitting that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet and you're super liking this video, then make sure to hit that subscribe button at the bottom. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can always go to simplegermany.com/coffee, where you can buy us a coffee, which is a small contribution where you can support this channel directly in the form of a virtual coffee. Continue with the program. Okay, so now that you maybe know what bike you want, how much your budget is, and all of these cool things, now comes the question, what equipment do you need to add to your bike? The first one is helmet. Is it by law mandatory that all bike cyclist people wear a helmet in Germany?
No, it is not obligatory. However, highly recommended.
Especially because accidents do happen. And please, when you buy a helmet, as we already mentioned, go to a shop and try it out. Make sure it actually fits, that it's not wobbly. How many times have we seen the cyclists actually wearing a helmet where it's half like down because it's too big for their head?
Or half in the back, so it doesn't even cover the front.
So that's not going to protect the head if you fall and you hit the curb or you hit the pavement or you hit anything else, really.
If you've never had a helmet before, like Jen said, go to a shop and have the experts fit it and tell you what to look out for, because that's really their job, right? And that's what their knowledge is.
Yeah, and I would say a good helmet, you can probably estimate a budget of around 70 euros.
Yeah. The next thing you should look out for, should maybe also a purchase criteria for your bike, is lights. By law, your bicycle needs to have approved certified lights to respect the Straßenverkehrsordnung, the STVO. And depending on the bike type you're looking for, the bikes are already included and they're already also like powered when you cycle, when you pedal. That would be the trekking bike, it's already street proof, the city bike. So those are really good for cities. However, if you fancy a mountain bike, which is not really made for the street.
Or a road bike.
Or a road bike also. Most often lights are not included and you would need to purchase them at an add-on, and those are battery powered.
And to keep your bike safe, you most likely also need to invest in a good lock. So some bikes already bring a system that it locks the tires when you want to park it. However, the majority don't. So you need to consider also investing in a good lock that is like anti-theft. I mean, at least to slow down the thieves, you know, because it does happen that also bikes get stolen in Germany.
Actually, that is quite a high crime rate, depending on how you define high, and 100% get a proper lock. Some bike theft insurances actually request you to get a lock that is more than 50 euros, just to put that threshold higher. And while we're talking about insurance, yes, if you get a fancy proper bike, that is, let's say 500 euros upwards, you might want to consider also getting bike theft insurance, because it does happen and it would be a very big shame if that bike gets stolen like after 2 weeks.
Yes, the bike theft insurance could be part of your home contents insurance. So it could be one bundle, so you don't need to pay additional for it. However, if you just want bike theft insurance, you can do that as well. The majority of our Simple Germany readers get GetSafe as their bike theft insurance or home contents insurance, because their insurance is fully digital. It's 100% in English, including the customer service. So it's a pretty good insurance and it's pretty good price for your money. We can say from experience that after Yvonne bought her very nice new bike, shortly afterwards it got stolen, and luckily we had the insurance that kicked in and actually refunded you all the money that the next kind of week we were able to buy your bike again.
Yeah, exactly.
It was pretty fast and smoothly.
One more thing you might want to consider, and you'll also see when you walk into a bike shop, is specific clothing. More importantly, reflective clothing, especially if you also plan to cycle at night or in winter. We have a reflective vest. Jen also has reflective gloves. It goes from reflective anything. You can have a jacket, a helmet cover, shoes. I mean,
anything,
pick your poison how much you want, but one reflective piece should be in your wardrobe if you cycle in the darkness.
Yes, also, like if you live in a city like Düsseldorf, where pretty much the weather is always raining, then you might consider also getting waterproof clothing. For me, the biggest or the best investment that I did back in the day when I was commuting to work was to get a waterproof rain jacket, even waterproof shoes, and waterproof pants. That totally like saved my life. I don't know how many times. Once you have your bike, you might consider that you need to also give maintenance to your bike. Give it some love so it lasts for many years, because it was an investment that you did, right? So most bike shops will recommend that you go for service or a tune-up at least once a year.
And the little advantage that comes with buying a bike at a bike shop is that the first inspection usually comes at a reduced rate.
Yeah, so it's super cool. So that actually implies that most bike shops have their own little service station or workshop in it that you can take your bike not only for inspections, but in case something needs fixing.
Exactly. Now to our super important tip that you need to be aware of when cycling in Germany, specifically in cities.
Yes.
Because often cities actually have the tram tracks within the road where you will be cycling. And the number one accident that we witness, not every day, but
quite often,
more or less quite often, are cyclists that get stuck in the tram tracks with their tires. And that is just not nice to look at, because you fall 100% because you can no longer control your bike.
Yeah.
So when crossing tram tracks, you need to cross them diagonally. Don't stay in the same line as a tram track, because you will slide in it. Always take a little curve, cross it, and then straighten out again.
Yes, I can testify that this method works. In the almost 10 years that I've had of cycling here in Düsseldorf, I can testify that I have never fallen down on these train tracks situations. Knock on wood. I hope it never happens, because when you say never. But anyways, so highly recommended. If you want more tips on how to cycle in Germany, make sure to check out our video literally called Cycling in Germany, which you can check out next or in the card that's showing up now. Until next time, tschüss!